Hey guys, thanks for coming back. And welcome back to another session of Masterclass Applied. Today we're going to learn how to apply the seventh note to the chord. And I'm going to give you all the explanation of the seventh chord from start to finish. Today you are going to be masters of the seventh chord, and you will know everything you need to know about that chord. Got it all written out for you. Got a little homework to do, a little writing to do, but when you're done, you're going to be a better guitar player. And you'll be on the level of some of the pros with the knowledge that you know and the knowledge you're gaining. Got to think like a pro if you want to be like a pro. And you want to play like a pro, you got to know the stuff that the pros know. And that's what this channel is all about, helping you reach your personal best. In that case, if you're at your best, you're probably going to be a pro, your pro level. So your best must be, it's going to be something pretty good. So you'll be able to achieve whatever you want to achieve on the guitar. That's the goal of this channel, to get you to do whatever you want on the guitar. I'm using this little child-sized thing today. So this little thing you just saw me rip is on this miniature neck. So if you guys have got a regular size guitar are saying that it's tough to get your fingers up in here, why don't you try it on a guitar meant for 6-year-old, 7-year-old kids like this little thing? Not so, it's not easy on this little thing. So I don't want to hear you guys saying, wow, I can't get up there. Yes, you can on a regular guitar, full size. Now those chords are nice. We got A minor, B minor, C major, D major. But putting a 7 on there would be even better. And I'm going to show you how to do that today. So that's about all the playing we'll probably see today. Probably something. It's probably about all we're going to see. I don't know. First thing we're going to do is learn how to build our 7. Last week we learned how to build the chord. We learned how to build our key, the scale, how to build the chords, identify the chords so we know what's in every key. The chords we're playing, we now know how to figure out what they are, right, for each key. We now know the Roman numeral system. Today we're going to do the 7. So the first thing I want you guys to do is grab that piece of paper, grab your book. You got a new notebook. You went out and got one. Great. I'm proud of you because you're going to be building yourself what I call the Guitar Bible. You're going to build your Guitar Bible. Everybody needs their own Guitar Bible that you build. And when your Bible is done being built, you will be a master of that Bible. If you don't build it, you're never going to be a master. That's just my opinion, because what I've seen in the past, that's what it concludes to. If you don't build your own Bible, you'll never be a master, because your Bible is going to be your reference book forever until you just don't need it anymore, which that day will come if you have the Bible. If you build your own guitar Bible, you will eventually not need to go back to refer to it to anything for anything, because you'll have everything memorized. And writing it out your own way allows you to learn it the best, for whichever way applies to you. So if you don't build your own Bible, it's just my own belief. From what I have seen, the proof is there that if you don't build it, you won't either reach your best, you won't be playing the best you could be playing, because you won't be understanding things quite as good as you could be. So as you start to write things out and memorize them and make your own little discoveries and your own bulbs go off, you'll be like going, holy cow, I understand this. And when new light bulbs go off in your head, you're becoming a better player, because it's all about what you know upstairs. What you play down here with these fingers is only a result of how well you know stuff up here. And that's how you know a great player. So when you see a guy like, I don't know who the newer guys, like Jason Richardson maybe from Born of Osiris, right? Guys like him, and you see some Gunther Guthrie type guys, these shredder dudes. There's new guys all coming out. The whole idea of that is those particular guys understood that studying music theory is where they're going to be, is what's going to make them great. They understand that a million guys can have physical skills. We all can work out in the gym, but if you don't work out correctly, you're not going to all get the same results. So Arnold Schwarzenegger obviously worked out in a better way than everyone else, because he developed into a champion more than 2 or 3 times. So when you see these guys playing at an elite level, you have to say to yourself, they know what they're playing on the guitar. Yes, they have physical skills that are fast, but they know what they're going to play quickly. So you have to understand that their brain is thinking faster than their hands are moving. And how can that be? Only if you've mastered the music theory completely and solidly through, in and out. Only as if you've invented it yourself, because you know it that well. Can you play it that well? So those guys, the Zach Wilds, the Steve Wise, the Steve Eyes, the Satrianis, right? All these guys, these are older guys, but they understood as young people that the music theory is where it's at, and that's why they were able to develop into the faster player that they were. Because to play that fast, you got to be able to think it that fast. You got to know it by heart. But you have to also understand it completely so that you're not left with any questions about what something might be. And so today you're going to master the seventh chord. You will know everything about it. You will know why it is what it is, why certain ones are the way they are, and how to tell what's going on with whatever chord you see so you can figure out the notes fast. When you see a chord, A7, A minor, major 7, A7, A diminished 7, A major 7, whatever you see, any kind of seventh chord, you got to be able to, a couple seconds, a millisecond or two, know what note. You got to be able to just look at the name of that chord and instantly, boom, know the notes in that chord. When you know them all, man, life on the guitar is easy. It's like taking candy from a baby. Only time people struggle on the guitar is when they don't know something, or when they can't find the information to be able to know that thing they want to know. Then guitar gets frustrating. And the only time it's frustrating physically is when your hands don't work. So if you're doing the physical exercises that I've taught you in the other videos, they will make you play at your maximum speeds and at your maximum physical abilities so that you could do anything anyone else is doing on the guitar and maybe then some. My videos on the physical aspects of guitar cannot be matched in my opinion. Other great players do a lot of things that are similar, if not the same. And these exercises are guaranteed for anybody with a heartbeat to make to develop yourself into a fine physical player. It's impossible to not. Every single exercise I give you is tried and true. They've worked for thousands of players. You have the same 99% of your DNA is the same as everyone else's. So if they're all doing it, you're going to be able to do it too. You're no different. If you're one of those people that tells you yourself that you struggle with things and you're not a great player and you don't have a lot of natural ability for guitar, throw that bag of crap out the window, because it doesn't apply here. Anybody with a pulse can get great at physically great at playing guitar if you follow my exercises. I don't care who you are. Just do them and keep doing them till you see the results. Some of you will see the results after a few hours, a few days, a few weeks. Some of you will see them after a few weeks or a few months. It doesn't matter. You're going to get results. It's just a matter of how hard you work to get them. I had to work hard, so maybe you do too. The harder you work, the better you get at them. So I worked really hard. I wasn't a fast learner. These things took me a while. These concepts took me a little while to understand. When I wrote them out and I could see them on paper, I said, wow, this makes sense. So I want you to write everything out, because that's how you're going to learn. Again, you're going to build your guitar Bible. Here we go. Break out your paper, because we're going to continue. Last week I had you write out 1, 3, 5. Get your guitar table going. I want you to write a 7 next to the page like this. I want to see that 7 right there. Write the 7 out. Get your 7 going. I already got it. When you get the 7, you're going to just write the 7th letter from the root, just like you wrote the 5th letter from the root. When you're done writing your 7s, it'll look like this. If you don't want to look yet, don't look. Here they go. Here's your 7s. See them? Pretty easy, right? You get the last one, I want you to add a flat to the A. Just put it there and I'll explain it later. We're going to learn all about the 7. But if you notice, once you get the first one, you get the 7th letter from the C and you realize it's a B, you can just shoot them across the page in alphabetical order. You can do that as well. Although I appreciate it for yourself that if you counted out 7 from each one of those roots. So if you go to the D and count to 7 and realize it's C, then you only have to do it once today, and then in the future you'll know what the 7 is because you've already counted it. So there's your 7. Now we got the 7. So let's do the explanation. Let's explain what's going on with the 7, okay? There's 3 types of 7s, folks. 3 types of 7s, no other kinds, no other types. We have a major 7, minor 7, and diminished 7. That is the value of the 7. So let's understand something. When you see a 7th chord, you have a 2-part chord. You have the triad, which could be major, minor, or diminished. And then you have the 7, which could be major, minor, or diminished. So you can match a 7 of one kind to a chord of another kind. That is why it is a 2-part chord. You have the value of the chord, which is one part. You have the value of the 7, which is another part. When the value of a chord is the same as the rest of the chord, or the chord doesn't have its separated value, it's all the same. basically like a one-part chord, like a triad, just a one-part chord. It's a triad. But a seventh chord is a two-part chord because we have the value of the chord and we have the value of the seven. Two different values pulled together. So this is a two-part chord. Very simple, right? Not so hard to understand that. It's a two-part chord. I got value of the seven, value of the chord. I can flip-flop and mix and match those values to get different chords, and we're going to do all that today. When you're done, you're going to be going, wow, I never understood all that about sevens. But there's not a whole lot. But what there is, you do need to understand. So, let's talk about this. We know the notes of A minor are A, C, E. Again, we're going back to the key of C because it's just easiest to follow as we already know. So we got an A minor chord, A, C, E. And we had the seventh note. As you've seen, it is a G. When you look at your paper, it should be a G. If you don't have a G underneath your A chord, you goofed up, and we want you to try it again. The first one is B, now that you know, and then the second one is C, right, D, and then the E chord is D, and the F chord is E. So we get to the A chord, it is G, A, C, E, G. So let's understand that. Now let's take a look at this paper that you guys have all written down on, all right? I can show it to you again, but I know you got it right there. If you don't have it right there, I'm going to show you real quickly while I talk about it. But when you look at these notes, in case you guys don't have it written right, this is correct. Now I got some icons on my screen. I imagine they're not going to be there when you see this. You should be able to see this. Now, when you're looking at this, I want you to observe some things. I'm going to hold this up so I can talk and show you guys what's going on. This is your lesson today. When you look at these notes, I want you to take a look at all the seventh notes for the major chords. Look at the C major chord. Look at the F major chord. And do not look at the G. Don't look at the G right now. Look at the 1 and look at the 4. Okay? What do you notice? Anything? About the 1 chord and the 4 chord, they're sevens. What's going on with the 7th chord of the 1 chord and the 4? Can you see the similarity? The sevens have a similarity to the chord. If you haven't figured it out, I'm going to tell you what it is. All the sevens of major chords, not including the 5, the 1 and the 4, those sevens are a half step from the root. The B is a half step from C, which is 1 fret as we know, and we have a E note on the F chord, which is a half step from the root of F. So we can conclude that when the 7th note is on the major chord and the 7th note is a major, it is a half step from the root. All major sevenths are 1 half step from their root. So you can tell yourself now that this B is a major 7th note because it is a half step from the root of C. On the F chord, the E note is a major 7. Okay, it's a half step from the root. So, whenever you build a key, all 1 chords and all 4 chords will give you a major 7th chord when you build the 7th chord into that key. You will automatically get from this key a C major 7 and an F major 7 automatically because they're on the 1 and the 4, and that takes place in all 12 keys. So again, once you get this down here, you can go building your major scale pattern like we have at the top, and you can throw any letter at the beginning. And when you line your letters up correctly, you'll get your new letters. You now put in the new Roman numeral values that signify what type of chord you're going to have. And you build your 1, 3, 5. You now build the 7, and you'll get the same thing in another key. You'll notice that if some of you already know the notes on some other chords, if we go to the key of G and you already know that the G major 7 chord is G, B, D, F sharp, well, that just confirms again the F sharp is a half step from the G. Now let's look at these minor chords. I know some of you're probably saying he just said F sharp and it's got an F in here, so we'll get to that, but just be patient for a second. In guitar theory land, you must learn to be patient, so that's another lesson you're going to get right now. I will get to that explanation, but first, let's go to the minor chords. We now know that the 2, 3, 6s are always minor. Those chords are our minor chords. Let's take a look at all 3 7s. What do you notice about the 3 7s, folks? What do you notice there? Yes, you're right. Absolutely. I'm proud of you guys that knew the answer. I'm proud of you guys for figuring it out before I told you. They're a whole step apart. That's right. The minor 7s are a whole step apart. So now you know that a minor 7th note is always going to be 2 frets away from its root all the time. So if you see A minor 7, you know that the 7th note must be a G because it has to be a whole step from the root. So if you look at these 3 7s, C is a whole step from D. D is a whole step from E on the E chord, and when you look at the A chord, G is a whole step from the A. All the sevens on these on these minor chords are a whole step away. So all these sevens are called minor seventh notes, separate from the chord. We have a minor chord and a minor seventh. On the major chords, we have a major chord and a major seventh note. And I'll show you how we mix that up. Now we're going to talk about some things here. Now that you understand that basic setup, let's just review and I'm going to move on. Major seventh notes are always a half step from their root. Minor seventh notes are always a whole step from their root. Now, knowing that, let's move into some things that are not the same. I told you before in the last video that we will be building all your chords from the notes in your scale. That was true in the first video. It's not true in this video. In this video, we're going to learn how to move away from the key to get the desired notes we're looking for. So, let's explain what's going on in this key right here. As you can tell, let's address this 5 chord. Oh boy. I love explaining this because this is fun stuff, because a lot of people never either realized what I'm going to explain, or they saw these letters and didn't understand why the G chord doesn't have a half step note to the root. Why does it have a whole step note? We're going to figure that out. Okay, so we have to get into a little bit of theory about some chord knowledge as well now. So we have to blend some other things into this lesson to make it make sense. So let's talk about this 5 chord, this G, B, D, F chord. That is a G dominant 7 chord, not a G major 7 chord. We know because if you have already built the key of G major, and if you have not, I'll tell you, when you build the key of G major and you build the 7th chord, in the key of G major, you will get an F sharp note if you build it using this major scale pattern. You will get an F where the B is, you'll get an F sharp where the B is, and it'll go a half step to the G. So if you build out your G scale using this major scale pattern, you will find that the 7th letter will be an F sharp, and it'll be a half step to the G, which leaves us to this key. This key does not have an F sharp, so there was no way they could put one in. That's why you're seeing it with an F. It just changes the value of the chord. We know in the key of G major, from what we've heard, and some of you may know, that the G, because G is such a basic chord, you might already know this, that G chord has an F sharp in the key of G. And we clearly see this key with the G and it has the F. Now remember, or if you don't know, I should tell you. Every chord, now that you can figure this out, every letter can be on a 1, 4, or 5, or a 2, 3, and 6. So that means we can have 3 different, that G chord can be a major chord sitting on the 1 in one key, it can sit on the 4 in another key, and in this key, G is the 5. So the G will be in 3 different keys, 1, 4, or 5. In this case, it's a 5. And let me say this to you. Every single 5 chord you build in all 12 keys will always give you the dominant 7 major chord. We call it dominant 7, folks, for this reason. The 7th note is not in the key. It's in this key, but it's not in the original key when the G sits on the 1. So when you have a G major 7 chord with the F sharp and G is on 1 or 4, you get the regular G major 7 chord. But the reason we call a chord a dominant 7 is because the 7th note is not from the original key. It's from this key, in this case, the G, right? The F. But in the key where G is 1, that's the original key for G. And in that key, the F is F sharp. So, this F is not from the key of G. It is from the key of C. And this chord does not originate in the key of C. As we now know, it originates from the key of G, which means that the 7 on the key of G, when G is the 1, that's the original 7. When the G sits on the 1, whatever 7 that is, and that 7 is an F sharp. So that 7 that sits on the 1 of G, that's the original 7 for the G chord. This F note is not the original 7. This is the dominant 7 version of G. It is still 7 from G, but it is not the original 7 of F sharp. So, since this F is not from the key of F sharp or G major, it is from this key, the 7th note stands out in this chord. That's why it's called a dominant 7. So what you can now know is that when you build a key, the 5 chord will always be built as dominant 7, and will always be a whole step from the root on that 7th note. So every key you build, you'll get 1 dominant 7 major and 2 major 7th majors. You'll get 2 chords that build a major 7. You'll get 1 chord that builds dominant 7. And that dominant 7 will always be the 5 chord. It will always have a 7 that is 2 frets from the root. That makes that F a minor seventh note on a major chord. Now we see the first mixed set of values. Again, the 7 has value and the chord has value. In this case, the value of the chord is major, the value of the 7 is minor. When you combine a major chord with a minor seventh note, you get a dominant seventh chord. Again, it's called dominant 7 because this new seventh note is not really from the key of G, so it dominates the sound of the chord. We hear that note first and foremost, and that's why it's called dominant 7. So this 7th note is from this key, but not the original key where G originates. If you don't understand that, just go back and listen to it a couple times, see if it sinks in, even sleep on it. You'd be surprised what your brain does with knowledge you put into it when you sleep and rest and get good deep sleep and let your brain work itself out while you're sleeping, while it has time to go back over this stuff. So it's very important. I'm going to say something to you guys who are serious about learning. For you guys that don't want to hear this, it's okay. You don't have to. But for you guys that are trying to squeak out every ounce of skill you can, just like I did, you want to be the very best you can, you must get deep sleep so that these principles and these new pieces of knowledge and information can swim around in your head and your brain can make heads or tails of it in peace. Peacefully in peace, while you're not distracted with something else and other thoughts, your brain can make sense of this stuff at night, and you'll wake up with a much better understanding of it if you get a deep sleep. I promise you, if you get a crummy night of sleep, you're going to wake up confused and still not sure about this stuff, and you'll have to start digging into your brain to scratch your marbles out of there and figure things out again. But if you get really good sleep, you'll wake up, and once you're fully cognited again, you'll understand this stuff completely. There is a huge difference in whether you sleep or not. It's definitely true. So if you really want to be great at music theory, prioritize your sleep. If you guys are party animals, be a party animal, but not while you're studying your music theory. Get sleep on those days. I'm just telling you how it works. You'll be much more knowledgeable if you can get good sleep. And let this stuff brew in your brain peacefully at night so it can get a grasp of it in peace. You need that. Okay, so just letting you know that. And that's the deal there with that dominant 7 chord. Now let's move over to the diminished 7 chord. We're not studying the diminished 7 scale today, so the knowledge of the diminished chord is only going to be what you need to understand today. So if you know the complete knowledge of it, that's great. And you're ahead of the game already. And then you can go to sleep with a little more peace because you already know what's going on with it. But what we want to understand, just basic knowledge today of the dominant 7 chord, is this. All 7s on the diminished chord must be a minor third from the 7. And just basically speaking, if you look at all these notes, a minor third is 3 frets. So the F note to the A flat, it really is F to G sharp. It's the same. It's a 3 fret spread. If you pay attention to the notes of this diminished chord, you will see that all the notes of the diminished chord are 3 frets apart, which makes a diminished 7 chord a repeated minor third interval over and over times 4, which means that there's only 3 diminished, right? How many diminished chords are there? 4, right? 4 times 3 is 12, or 3 times 4 is 12. How many are there, folks? 3 or 4? Can you tell me? Every one of the notes in this diminished chord is the root of another scale. There's 12 scales, so you got 4 notes in a scale. And each one of these notes roots another diminished scale. So you've got the root of 4 diminished scales there. You've got 4 diminished scales, a B diminished scale, a D diminished scale, an F diminished scale, and an A flat diminished scale, all using the same 4 notes. So if you have 4 notes and 12 scales, do your math. You get it? There aren't that many diminished scales. How many are there? 3, right? 4. How many are there? I want to leave you confused because I want you guys to do a little thinking. We'll get you the answer as soon as you know it. Put it down below, or maybe keep it to yourself. But the bottom line is, if you start working out your scales, you're going to see you're limited on the diminished scales you got there. Now, I'm not going to give you all the answers today because I want to keep it interesting. We're going to do an in-depth lesson about this diminished scale at another time. But now you know that the 7th note of your diminished chord needs to be 3 frets from the 7. And then it will be 3 frets from every other note. And then when they're all 3 apart, you know you've got the diminished chord correct. Right? That's basically how we find our 7th note. That is what's going on with that. So there really is nothing else to understand about the 7th chord. I'll give you a few demonstrations of what we look like when you want to see them on your guitar, so you guys can notice that all 3 7th chords are sitting in the same exact spot. So the end summary here is going to be this. If you find 1/7 chord, you should be able to find them all. If you know how to build a major chord and you can turn into a minor chord, you can build them all. And if you look at your scale there, and now you understand that a diminished chord is just repeating minor thirds, which is 3 frets, you can get the notes of a diminished chord. Now that you know how to find the notes of a diminished chord by making sure that they're all just 3 frets apart till they loop around again, let's take a look at what we're looking at here. Here is an A minor chord, A, C, E. Let's get a little volume for you. Right, there's the A note on the 14. There's my C, there's my E, right? A, C, E. A, C sharp B is right next to it. Right here. Right? And then we have A, C, E flat. A, C, E flat. There's the little pattern for the diminished sweep you're going to learn. Okay? There's the A. Now we add some 7s. We get an A minor with A, C, E, G, right? A, C, E, G. That's your A minor 7. Here's A minor with a major 7. You'll see this, A minor with a major 7. Now when you see that in a song, it's going to look like this. It'll look like A minor, and it'll say parentheses, MAJ7. It'll look like this. A minor, it'll tell you major 7 because they're not using their standard minor 7. Obviously, if you see A minor 7, if you don't already know, which I imagine most of you do know, if it says A minor 7, you're going to look like this, right? It's just going to tell you, hey, it's going to be like that. Standard A minor 7. When it's not the minor 7, they're going to tell you it's a major 7. And then diminished 7. So we take a look, and you got A, C, E, G sharp. A major with the minor 7. Then you got A minor with the minor 7. Then you got your A major with the minor 7. And then what did I just do that one? Then we had A minor with the G major 7, with the G sharp, and using your major 7. That's probably the most popular one in metal because it's the harmonic minor version of A minor. Look at that regular minor 7. Immediately you get that harmonic minor vibe. Okay, then you have the diminished 7, A, you get the C, you get the E flat. Now look at the E flat. And we go to the minor third up, right? For 3 frets up. 1, 2, 3. What do you get? G flat. A, C, E flat, A, C, E flat, G flat. The G flat, which is F sharp, is 3 frets from your other note. This diminished chord, if we put it all on one string, when we finalize this, we look at it all on one string, we can see the minor thirds. A, C, C to E flat, E flat to G flat. And do not call this F sharp, folks. That would be completely incorrect. It's not F sharp. It is G flat. And if you were getting tested on that in a scholastic environment, you would get it wrong if you put down an F sharp. We go to the G flat and we go back to the root of A, and what many frets we got? 1, 2, 3. Ga-bang, ga-boom. Three frets apart completes that chord. You can see it visually, horizontally. It's a little more difficult to see it vertically. And that is the explanation of the 7th chord, my friends. And we just lined it up without even trying to be 30 minutes. Ga-bang, ga-boom. We're right at the 30-minute mark. And I didn't even try to do that. Just worked out that way. Guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for allowing me to help you. Check out the next series coming out next week. We're going to be building on this. Your homework is to write it out. Write it out so you understand it and memorize it. If you understood the diminished stuff, write out your different diminished chords. Eventually, we're going to cover that fairly soon. But this is how we complete our knowledges a little at a time, not missing anything. Starting at level 1 and moving on up without skipping anything. That is everything you need to know about a 7th chord. There is no more secrets. There's no more information to know. That's it. I put everything in there. I did not leave anything out. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in another video. Leave a comment, like, and subscribe if you like getting educated by me. See you later.